Hi folks, Puffin here with your Antifa News Briefa for September 22nd, 2021. Submarine News Media Edition, Western Media Edition. So I just finished listening to The Daily on NPR, and they're talking about the submarine sale from US to Australia that includes the UK. Basically, the UK and US sharing their nuclear submarine technology and systems with Australia to partner up with them more strongly than their other partners. And this has upset France because, for one, it's cutting them out of the loop in some way, like showing a favorite status to Australia by sharing the technology with them instead of sharing it with France. But also because they had a deal to sell Australia conventional submarines for tens of billions of dollars. Now, first of all, I think we should all protest this deal and just get all the deals canceled. No submarines, we don't need them. But let's talk about the way they reported on it in the Daily, because they just talked about, hey, this is all to deal with China. This is all to oppose China or Joe Biden's all-in strategy to, put pressure on China or whatever it is. The thing is, that's the Daily correspondence putting everything in the context of, hey, back in the 80s, it was US versus Russia and Europe was the main focus. Well, now that China is the main focus and Russia isn't the main focus, it should be, we got to do this to put pressure on China or to partner with Australia because they're positioned to be, across the sea, close to China, monitoring China, something like that. So the news guy, Michael Barbaro, the host of the Daily, asks whoever they were interviewing, I assume a journalist, so this is all just to spy on China. Just said it just like that. So this is just to spy on China? Yes, this is to spy on China. Why are we spying on China? For one, why can't you just ask China? Why are we even in some type of tension with China? They explain that, but first I want to say, why are we in some tension with China versus Russia when Russia is the one that just attacked our democracy and continues to attack our democracy and continues to attack the entire world by putting these trolls out there that spread these lies about Trump virus, trying to spread Trump virus genocide. So in the one way, Russia is responsible, or Putin is responsible for that, and that's the worst thing ever. But even before that, Russia was invading Crimea, invading Ukraine. They were at war, going to war with allies of the United States of America, and we're just letting that slide? We're just brushing that off because China did what? So what they say China did is China is colonial in their region. I don't know what they mean by that. I don't know what they're referring to when they say that. If there's news stories, I don't know about, mention them in comments because I'm unaware of what China's doing that's colonial. I'm aware of them doing a lot of loans to countries and building the Belt and Road and doing all types of development things, some of which includes coal power, which I disapprove of and think they should just skip straight to green energy if they're going to be building new power plants. But for instance, loaning people money, doing stuff like that, good job, China. Their influence is strong in the world and for a good reason. And there's nothing to be afraid of. They're just being influential. So being afraid of them or acting like them having a gaining economic influence, is really what it comes down to, is somehow a threat, is just wrong. You can't just say, hey, this country doesn't deserve to prosper because they're Chinese. That's racist. That's exactly what that is. So we need to get off that game in the first place, being afraid of China. But the other things they mentioned, okay, so China's being colonial or doing things in the South China Sea, such as making islands. I don't know about the environmental impact of making islands, but in some ways it seems pretty cool. It's pretty cool to have the power to do things like that. And, maybe we're jealous. But as far as being colonial, what they're doing there, how does that compare to what the U.S. does in South America, dictating their policy, say, via immigrants, telling South American countries how to treat immigrants and how to treat refugees and how they have to hold refugees that are trying to come to America, otherwise or else, in all sorts of ways that America puts pressure on and undermines and overthrows South American governments and other governments around the world. Why don't we hear anything about Ivory Coast? Because we didn't do that coup? You don't hear anything about what's going on in that country. But other countries you'll hear about, probably because we're involved in some way. You'll hear something about Haiti and making excuses for whoever assassinated the president of Haiti. Probably because it was the DEA. Probably because it was America involvement. So we don't have any room to criticize China for being colonial. Again, I don't know what examples of China's colonialism there are supposed to be. But we have plenty of examples of our own, which mean we have no room to criticize. And probably somebody should be criticizing us. Now, the other thing they talk about is Xinjiang province. I'm not aware that Xinjiang province is somewhere that submarines have anything to do with it, but they always throw that in there, the way China treats people in Xinjiang province, which is probably not as bad as we're led to believe, because they don't really ever give any evidence of bad things happening. But, they just mention it like you're supposed to know that it's bad. But what about Black Lives Matter in America? What about all the groups, all the minority groups in America that our government and its agents oppress actively and even murder regularly? I think it's worse in America. Just throwing it out there. Again, we don't have any room to talk. Or they talk about, the other thing they mention is the China's cracking down on Hong Kong. Well, how does cracking down on Hong Kong, whatever that means, as far as the democracy efforts in Hong Kong, as far as I'm aware, they have democracy in Hong Kong. How does that compare to Republicans cutting away voting rights in various states in America? Like, I think it's not just the pot calling the kettle black. I think we're the guilty party and projecting our guilt upon China for some reason, I guess to start some type of war, which we don't need. So again, we all need to be protesting any submarine sale, any militarism. Right now, it's kind of silly that they're like, no, you should give us tens of billions of dollars for weapons instead of giving them tens of billions of dollars for weapons. When America just spent $1.5 trillion on losing a war in Afghanistan. Submarines weren't useful for that. They lost a war in Iraq, or we lost a war in Iraq. Submarines weren't useful for that either, even though they could actually pull up alongside. It's pointless. War is obsolete. We don't need to be arguing about who gets the billions of dollars or who does any of this stuff. We need to cut it all out. And I swear if we partner with China, we'll be able to get some things done. But yeah, it's wrong and hypocritical to act like China is somehow a threat when they haven't invaded anybody, but Russia has. I don't mean we need to go to war with Russia, but acting like, whoa, Europe doesn't need to be the focus because China's the focus. What about the Ukraine? It's completely it's way too Trumpy. And even the French called it that. The French said, hey, this is something we would expect from Trump, not from Biden. And Biden, you don't need to be playing any kind of Trump game. You don't need to be playing into let's gear things up against China. We need to be partnering with China. And we can do that to produce vaccines. We can do that to solve global warming problems. We have to do it to produce vaccines. Like, we really all need to be all in, every country working together, produce vaccines, solve the Trump virus genocide, and stop the ones who keep promoting it, like the Trumpers in America and Putin, ultimately Zuckerberg, with Facebook and his fake accounts promoting Trump virus. We've all seen it. As soon as you take hold of Zuckerberg, take hold of Facebook, and take those accounts, take those files, you'll see it. But yeah, so we gotta stop that whole network. And the partnerships we form doing that will enable us to solve global warming and other issues like that. And militarism entirely. We can cut it all out. We can use submarines for exploration and all be working together. But just listening to the way they talk about it, it's like obviously trying to start some type of arms race with China and jealous over, it was fine when it was just economic, but now that China has military capabilities, well, their military capabilities aren't anything compared to America's, just because they probably would use them in a smarter way or wouldn't use them or whatever. Like, maybe we just need to cut it out. Like, American military, strongest in the world, just got beat by the Taliban, or just got chased off by the Taliban. And that was the other thing they mentioned, is that Britain apparently looked bad in the exit from Afghanistan. This correspondent journalist was saying Biden made him look bad by not letting him in on the details. I kind of thought Trump set up the details months ago, and everybody knew this was when they were leaving. But I guess maybe there were some logistical, in-the-moment things that Biden cut Boris Johnson out of. And Boris Johnson deserves to look like a jerk because he is a jerk. But if this is some idea like, hey, this is America throwing a bone to Boris Johnson to say, hey, you're with us in Australia against China. Who else is with us? That's kind of the other way they put it out, is to say, we don't, this reporter was saying that America was like, hey, France, you have to decide, is it more important for you to be worried about your military sales or to be worried about being on our team and, doing things the way we want to do them? It's bully politics. It's not appropriate. It's rude to do to your allies. It's rude to say, pick sides, choose up sides especially when nothing's going on. It's not like there's been some attack. Well, hold on, there has been an attack. Russia has attacked the Ukraine. And France would be, a useful ally in addressing that. But no, we have to shift to China. That's a lie. And basically, we need to cut out all military. And even if you leave Russia as the last aggressor out there trying to take over Crimea, if everybody else in the world is moving on to this peace and harmony thing, they're going to look like such dorks. You know, it's like you can shame them. You can shame an entire country, entire culture. We can shame the world out of militarism. And it is a shame. So we should. Thanks for watching. See you soon. No submarines. We can protest submarines everywhere. Like heard a news story about them protesting that country that went to Bitcoin. 1,000 people protested. Well, you don't report when 1,000 people protest for Black Lives Matter. But we can easily get thousands of people to protest against these submarine sales in France, in America, in Australia. We can get the people to come out and do it. Can we get the coverage for it? Can we get you to say, hey, the people are against buying any more submarines. The people are against war. We can start a movement to end war and do it and succeed. This is the time. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Let's get rid of these submarines and get rid of the military and make a world of peace. And do it with China, because China's not doing anything that I know of, that America, that I know of, is doing way worse. And China's not doing anything threatening to America or America's interests. We can all work together. We just need to get over the racism. That's really the big card they're playing. It's like, oh no, China's on the rise. We should all be on the rise. We can all be on the rise together. Thanks.